It's such an honor to really talk about one of our alumni that has risen to distinction in our region, in our state, and frankly at the national and perhaps even international level. Obviously, I'm talking about Chuck King, Dr. Chuck King, our honoree this evening. I have the fondest memories of Chuck when he was in school. There was no question that he would rise and make an enormous contribution in his professional life. I've just been awed every time I have a conversation about his contribution, the level of expertise that he's risen to have a professor, a distinguished teacher, to have really a policy advisor for the nation, and an individual who continues to grow and make contributions daily to help make our world a great and a safer place. My memories always go back to the family. Miss King worked in our schools. I knew Mr. King personally. I've actually driven around the farm with Mr. King many times and enjoyed those moments. And both of them always had the warmest smile, the greatest demeanor, but somehow, when the conversation turned to Chuck, they just glowed. And Miss King, it's with that spirit that we recognize Dr. Chuck King this evening.
Oh, are you guys ready to talk about Chuck? Let me put down my digital copy of Midnight at Para Palace Hotel written by Dr. Charles King. So take a little break from that and I'll be happy to visit with you about Chuck.
He's good at a lot of things. So he is good at has all kinds of musical talents. Play the banjo, the trumpet, the bagpipes.
Yeah, when we're talking about Chuck, and he can be a bit intimidating. He's a particularly gifted writer and author.
We didn't have to be around Chuck very long in class to figure out he's working at a little different mental level than the rest of us.
Even today, talking to you, I find myself concerned about grammatical errors and ending a sentence in a preposition, let's say. And I find myself just going on and on and on.
If you'd never met Chuck, that he would be the kind of guy that you wouldn't expect to have the kind of profession or position that he has at Georgetown University. He's just a normal guy.
Because he's just Chuck. It doesn't matter where he is, and his friends up there, they have jam sessions. He's just Chuck.
My dad, because I cried just about every single day of first grade because I hated to leave my mom. And my dad always used to say after that he couldn't get me to go to school and then he couldn't get me to stop.
I had a French class with Chuck, and it was taught by a guy named Mr. Gaudier. And I might have the details wrong here a little bit, but first day of class, Mr. Gaudier kind of through some introductions asked, what do y'all do this summer? And I don't know if he asked Chuck specifically or he got around to Chuck, and Chuck's answer was something to the effect of, well, I learned Russian.
I graduated in the class of 1986 from Springdale High. I actually ended up spending 3 years at the U of A and then 1 year at Cambridge University in England. And it's probably no accident that I ended up leaping in a way to a part of the world that was at the time, during the period of the Cold War, as far away from us as you could imagine. I think I was never completely convinced that Russians or Soviets were that different from us, that part of living in the world meant trying to figure out the points of connection, the points of commonality with other people.
He's a guy who I think is proud to be from Arkansas, from Springdale, and doesn't shy away from it. I think it really sets him apart from probably a lot of his peers, and I think he embraces it.
I came from here, my origins are here. I still have lots of friends here whom I see regularly. And I think that's one of the things that in the world that I sort of move in now, in the world of international affairs and education and so forth, it's a thing that is an incredible source of pride and frankly strength for me.
Wouldn't you have to assume that at his mental level, he's able to understand how small he is in the scheme of things? Because the smarter you get, the more you understand that you're pretty small.
I was always interested in the kind of wider world. That I knew that we were, here, certainly not isolated from the rest of the world, but we were only one part of the rest of the world. And I wanted to figure out how other people thought and lived and made sense of their lives. There's something very special and very important about a public school. It's the place where, ideally, everybody in a community comes. And it is, very easy, I think, in our society now for people to go into their individual bubbles and interact only with people who are just like them. And the mission of a public school, it seems to me, is to break down those barriers.